Hi, I'm Jessica, a 30-year-old woman, and I want to share a recent experience that brought closure to a challenging period in my life, one involving both my husband, Tyler, and his family. This chapter began a few months ago, and now that the dust has started to settle, I'm still processing the emotional fallout. I believe that opening up about it might help me heal. To rewind 3 years, I made a life-changing decision. I married my boyfriend, Tyler. We met through mutual friends and enjoyed 3 wonderful years together before deciding to tie the knot. Tyler was the life of the party, fun, attentive, and loving. Coming from a well-off family and having a great job, he often showered me with gifts and affection. Our bond grew stronger through our shared love of travel, and my friends frequently praised him. Genuinely happy for us. Tyler's generosity could be overwhelming at times. I remember him gifting me a new laptop for my college graduation. While incredibly thoughtful, it also made me feel uncomfortable. Tyler, I'm just a student, I'd say. I can't match your spending. Let me at least split some costs. But Tyler would brush it off, insisting it was normal for him to pamper me, just like his friends did. Eventually, I grew accustomed to his gestures, though I still sought ways to contribute within my means. After graduation, when I landed a good-paying job, I was excited to reciprocate his generosity. We began sharing expenses more equally and even discussed moving in together. One day, Tyler suggested, "You can move in with me. I inherited my house from my grandpa, so no rent to worry about. But we can split everything else to keep things fair." Although I had reservations, Tyler reassured me that he had my best interests at heart. So, we began this new chapter together. Things went smoothly for a while. Our financial responsibilities were shared fairly, given our different incomes. That changed when I met Tyler's family. They lived far away, and due to his work commitments, I had to host them on my own. Before their arrival, Tyler warned me about their judgmental tendencies but didn't elaborate much. "Just smile through it," he said. "Don't take anything they say to heart." Approaching the meeting with cautious optimism, I hoped for a warm welcome. Instead, his family's hostility was palpable from the moment they arrived. Tyler's mother, Martha, set the tone. "So, you're the woman Tyler's been seeing," she said coldly. "I didn't expect to find you living here. Do you pay rent?" Caught off guard, I replied, "No, Martha. Tyler told me the house was fully paid for, but we split all other bills evenly." Martha frowned. "Just because the house is paid for doesn't mean you can freeload. This is Tyler's house, not yours. Remember that." Her words stung. The conversation grew more uncomfortable, and Tyler's sister, Teresa, wasn't any better. She barely spoke to me, opting instead to glare or mention her marriage to a billionaire, constantly reminding me of her perceived superiority. Every attempt I made to connect with her was met with cold indifference. Throughout their visit, Tyler offered no support. In fact, he seemed to side with his family, echoing their sentiments. His parents criticized my spending habits, particularly my purchases of makeup and skincare products, calling them frivolous given my limited contributions to the household. Their judgment stemmed partly from Tyler's casual remarks. "Jessica was just a struggling student," he'd told them once, perpetuating their skepticism about my financial independence. Their visit left me feeling humiliated, unsupported, and questioning my place in the relationship. When we met, Tyler had painted a picture as if I'd been entirely dependent on him. While it was true that he supported me financially during my early years as a student, his portrayal wasn't accurate. It felt as though he was deliberately reinforcing his family's negative opinions of me. Their disapproval, paired with Tyler's passive stance, made the experience deeply unsettling. I was caught off guard by their remarks and reminded Tyler that we had adjusted our financial arrangement to split the bills equally. I explained that I'd always lived modestly, both before and during our relationship, and that any luxury items I owned had been gifts from him, gifts I had often urged him not to give because of their extravagance. Tyler, however, brushed off my concerns. He defended his lavish spending, claiming that his social status required him to give extravagant gifts. It became increasingly clear that his generosity was less about caring for me and more about impressing his friends. Their visit left me feeling bitter, so I confronted Tyler after they left. His response only deepened my frustration. "Don't take it to heart, Jessica," he said dismissively. "They meant well. What they said wasn't serious. Relax, you're overreacting." Despite my concerns, Tyler refused to acknowledge the problem. 5 months later, Tyler proposed. Despite my lingering reservations, I accepted in a moment of happiness, and we began planning our engagement party. We agreed to split the costs evenly, and I decided to indulge a bit, feeling it was an occasion worth celebrating. By then, I was running a small side business, and although it wasn't a major source of income, it was fulfilling for me. As we organized the party, I even took on the extra expense of covering plane tickets for my extended family so they could attend. Tyler fully supported this, and I thought we were on the same page. However, during the celebration, the same old criticisms resurfaced. "You shouldn't have splurged so much on this party, Jessica. You're draining Tyler's accounts before you're even married. At this rate, you'll end up with a backyard wedding." His family sneered. Their harsh words stung, casting a shadow over what should have been a joyful moment. Frustrated, I firmly responded to Martha. "Yes, the party was extravagant, but we both agreed to it. I paid my share, and it was actually Tyler's idea to invite so many people. He insisted, and I couldn't say no when he mentioned he didn't mind the expense." But the criticism continued. Martha accused me of manipulating Tyler into spending more than he should, while Teresa chimed in, claiming she knew exactly what kind of person I was and that I should have been more considerate. Overwhelmed, I excused myself and stepped outside to find some peace. On the venue's lawn, I overheard Teresa and her husband, Justin, laughing at my expense. My engagement party felt like it was falling apart, and Tyler seemed oblivious to his family's harsh judgments. To make matters worse, many of Tyler's extended relatives assumed I was jobless, painting me as a dependent freeloader. Noticing my distress, my mother, who raised me as a single parent, approached me, ever perceptive and protective. She urged me to reconsider the engagement. She reminded me of the mean-spirited comments from Tyler's family and how they'd continually undermined me. After the party, her words lingered. It was clear that this wasn't just about one bad night, it was a pattern of disrespect and neglect that I couldn't ignore. I confronted Tyler about everything that had happened, but he brushed it off, saying his family was just joking. He reassured me that financial matters didn't concern him because he loved me. Still, I was firm, expressing my desire to contribute more significantly to our expenses, including rent. Once again, he dismissed the idea. As we moved forward with wedding planning, the stress only intensified. Tyler's parents criticized every decision I made, accusing me of bankrupting their son. Their constant scrutiny made what should have been an exciting time feel unbearable. I tried explaining to them that everyone, including my mom, was contributing to the wedding expenses, but Martha snapped back, accusing me of taking advantage of Tyler. The accusations became relentless, branding me a gold digger. Hoping to ease the tension, I addressed Gabriel directly. "Gabriel, I'm not asking for any financial help. We're fully capable of financing the wedding ourselves," I said calmly. Despite my reassurances, Teresa's criticisms didn't stop. She even commented on the cost of my dress and makeup for the wedding day, despite knowing those were covered by my mother. The ceremony itself went smoothly, but during the reception, Martha and Gabriel continued their attacks, accusing me of financially exploiting their son. No matter how much I explained or defended myself, it was clear they were determined to see me in the worst possible light. I chose to remain silent, determined not to let conflict ruin what was supposed to be a special day. A few months later, Tyler received a significant promotion at work. Excited for him, I suggested celebrating with a grand family dinner, offering to cover all the expenses myself. Tyler, I want this dinner to be extraordinary. I'm so proud of you, and I want to celebrate your success. I told him enthusiastically. He appreciated the gesture, and I shared that my business was flourishing and that I had recently accessed a trust fund from my late grandfather. I meticulously planned the event, ensuring everything was perfect for his big celebration. However, when his family arrived, their displeasure was evident. While other guests complimented the dinner, his parents seemed unimpressed. During the speeches, Martha stood up, commanding the room with her voice. I want to thank everyone for gathering here to celebrate my son, she began. He's incredibly hardworking, generous, and truly deserving of this promotion. Unfortunately, his good fortune hasn't extended to his choice of a partner. A tense silence filled the room as her words lingered. My stomach tightened as she continued, her tone laced with regret. It's unfortunate that of all people, he's tied himself to what some might call a gold digger. I only wish he had seen her true nature earlier. Maybe then he wouldn't have to work so hard to support her lavish lifestyle. Her eyes scanned the room, ensuring everyone heard her pointed remarks. I sat still, the knot in my stomach growing tighter, unwilling to let her cruel words ruin Tyler's moment, though the damage was already done. It was painfully obvious to everyone in the room that Martha's tirade wasn't just a speech. It was an attack. It's clear to everyone here that his wife has been extravagant, she sneered. From the engagement party to tonight's dinner, it seems she has nearly drained his accounts. Her words stung like a sharp blade. But I kept my composure, knowing any reaction would only fuel their baseless accusations. I took a deep breath, bracing myself for what was to come. Martha continued, smugly adding, "Thank goodness we had Jessica sign a prenuptial agreement before the wedding. At least some of his assets are protected." She sighed with faux relief and carried on. "It's a good thing my son married someone who can at least keep up the appearance of a trophy wife." What followed shocked me to my core. Tyler chimed in, agreeing with his mother. "I can't even afford to spend money on myself anymore. There's nothing left," he lamented. Then, as if twisting the knife, he added, "Honestly, marrying you was a mistake." He even compared me unfavorably to what he imagined a different wife might do in my place. The humiliation was unbearable, but I wouldn't let it consume me. Gathering my courage, I finally spoke up. "Do you really think I'm a gold digger?" I asked, my voice steady but filled with frustration. Tyler's response was sharp and dismissive. "Your lifestyle is quite damaging to my bank account." Stunned but determined to set the record straight, I stood my ground. "Since you all think I'm such a gold digger, let me show you my bank balance. Maybe that'll clear things up." I revealed my financial independence to the room, leaving many in disbelief. Martha, however, doubled down, pointing accusingly. "Did you steal my son's money?" she demanded. Tyler, siding with his mother, added, "She must have taken it from me." Frustrated but calm, I replied, "I don't need to steal money from your son. Everything I have comes from my own hard work. Besides, I recently accessed a trust fund left by my grandfather. I even had plans to use it to buy a bigger house as a surprise for Tyler, but given the circumstances, that seems unlikely now." Despite the tension, Tyler, ignoring the severity of the situation, suggested, "We can still buy the house. It'll be a wonderful gift." I shook my head, resolute. "This is not happening. Your family has insulted me for too long, and you've never once stood up for me. Instead, you've allowed these false assumptions about me to continue." Tyler tried to downplay the situation. "You're overreacting," he said dismissively. But I wouldn't let it go this time. "No, I'm not overreacting," I countered. "Everyone here knows what your family has been saying about me. They were here when you allowed them to insult me at our engagement party. Enough is enough." Years of disrespect and humiliation had built up, and I had reached my breaking point. I looked Tyler directly in the eye and said, "I want a divorce." Tyler began to plead and explain, but my mother, who had quietly endured the scene until now, intervened. "You've never defended my daughter. It's time she ends this toxic relationship for good," she declared firmly. With her unwavering support, I stood up, leaving the party behind as the crowd whispered in shock. I was resolute. This was the end of a painful chapter in my life. After the confrontation, I went straight to our home, gathered my belongings, and muted my phone to silence Tyler's desperate calls. I sought solace with my mother, finding strength in her presence. The next day, I began the process of reclaiming my life and moving forward. I contacted my cousin, a lawyer, to begin drafting the divorce papers. With the prenuptial agreement in place, the process promised to be straightforward, ensuring that my significant financial assets would remain protected. However, tensions escalated when Tyler and his family arrived uninvited at my mother's doorstep. Demanding to speak with me, my mother stood her ground, firmly instructing them to leave. Meanwhile, Tyler's messages swung between tearful apologies and unsettling threats. I documented each one, preparing to seek a restraining order if necessary. My mother's unwavering support gave me the strength to face the situation head-on. Tyler even attempted to confront me at my workplace, but security promptly escorted him out. That incident solidified my resolve. I decided to resign from my high-paying job, a position I no longer needed thanks to my thriving business. My priorities had shifted. I was no longer focused on accumulating wealth but on pursuing peace and dignity. I handed in my resignation that very day and began preparing for the next chapter of my life. A week later, I served Tyler the divorce papers at his workplace. By then, he had already learned of my resignation. My former colleagues shared how he continued sending flowers and gifts to my mother's house, all of which we returned. His relentless harassment led me to consider relocating. Encouraged by my mother, I found a beautiful home in a neighboring state, a sanctuary where I could start anew. As I awaited the finalization of the divorce, the strong prenuptial agreement ensured the proceedings were smooth and efficient. During the 5 months of our separation, I took time to heal, regroup, and prepare for my fresh start. I quickly settled into my new home, changed my phone number to avoid Tyler's incessant attempts to contact me, and began embracing my newfound freedom. Through mutual acquaintances, I heard that Tyler's life was unraveling. He blamed his parents for the end of our marriage and faced professional setbacks as his colleagues distanced themselves and his superiors expressed displeasure over the negative publicity. His parents exacerbated the chaos by spreading baseless rumors of infidelity, but thankfully, those accusations gained no traction. In stark contrast, my life began to thrive. I focused on growing my business and rediscovered joy in the freedom I now had. I started going out more and eventually re-entered the dating scene. While Tyler's actions had left scars, I remained hopeful that I would heal and find someone who truly valued and cherished me. The challenges I faced were painful, but they also made me stronger. Overcoming them propelled me into a brighter future filled with possibilities and self-discovery. I look forward to what lies ahead, confident in my resilience and clear about what I seek in relationships and in life.